2 minutes ago, inside a corridor the public will never see, a door closed and the entire monarchy's balance of power shifted. Camilla, usually untouchable, wasn't issuing orders or posing for cameras. She was pleading. And not to the king, to William. The heir who no longer asks permission. The shock wasn't that she begged. It was what she begged for. And the cold answer she got while Catherine watched in silence. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Because in that restricted wing where footsteps are softened by tradition, and every glance has consequences, everything suddenly moved with an urgency the palace hates to admit exists. Staff who normally floated in and out with practiced invisibility were quietly cleared. Phones that usually stayed on were turned face down. Doors that didn't need locking were locked anyway. It wasn't announced as a crisis, because the monarchy doesn't announce crises. It simply creates a pocket of silence so thick it feels like a warning. Camilla understood that silence better than anyone. She'd lived long enough inside this world to recognize the signs of a decision, forming one that can't be undone once spoken aloud. She wasn't there to negotiate headlines. She wasn't there to charm public opinion. This wasn't a garden party smile situation. This was private, procedural, and dangerous, because the rules were no longer being written by the people she could influence. The whispers had already started, aides exchanging looks, messages firing off in short coded phrases. Someone saying, "He's here," like it meant the temperature of the entire building had changed. And then William. Not storming in like a man hungry for revenge, not posturing like a prince trying to prove strength. He arrived with the calm of someone who has already made peace with the fallout. That's what made him frightening. No raised voice. No theatrical disappointment, just stillness like a verdict waiting for the final signature. The kind of restraint that says, "I'm not arguing because there is nothing left to argue about." Camilla tried to speak first. Of course she did. In this world, whoever speaks first tries to control the story. But her voice, carefully trained for years to sound steady, reassuring, regal, wavered at the edges. She didn't beg with dramatic tears. She begged with a softer weapon, urgency wrapped in reason. She framed it as duty, as protection, as something that needed to be handled quietly for the good of the family. And yet the way her words kept circling back to one thing made the truth impossible to ignore. She wasn't asking for unity, she was asking for mercy. Because something was coming. A file, a recording, a vote. Call it what you want, but it was the kind of trigger that turns rumors into reality and private discomfort into public reckoning. Camilla could feel it approaching like thunder you can't outrun, and she knew exactly who would decide whether it struck or whether it was contained. Not the king. Not the old guard. William. The heir with a future to protect and no patience left for old bargains. And there, beside him, Catherine didn't interrupt. She didn't soften the atmosphere. She didn't offer a lifeline. Her silence wasn't absence, it was presence sharpened into something unmistakable. Witness, judge, and the quiet confirmation that William wasn't acting alone. In that corridor, Camilla wasn't facing one person's refusal. She was facing the future, watching her in real time, weighing her and finding her wanting. And as Camilla's voice cracks in that private hallway, we have to rewind, because this moment didn't start 2 minutes ago. It started the day William decided he would stop protecting her. For years, William did what heirs are trained to do: smile, nod, endure. He mastered the art of being above it, even when it burned. But something changed, subtle at first. A missing meeting note, a closed briefing, a new circle of trusted aides, and then the clearest sign: William stopped reacting. Because when someone stops reacting, they've stopped negotiating. And when heirs stop negotiating, queens start panicking. That's the part outsiders never understand about palace conflict. The real battles don't happen in public arguments or headline-grabbing scenes. They happen in the pauses, in who gets the first briefing and who gets the last-minute update, in whose staff gets waved through, and whose staff is suddenly asked to wait. It's a quiet war fought behind ceremony, hidden inside politeness, disguised as tradition. Everyone smiles, everyone bows, everyone says of course, while power quietly changes hands like a weapon passed under a table. William learned early that being the future means being patient. He played his role with discipline, even when the air around him felt staged, even when decisions seemed to drift away from him into rooms he wasn't invited to enter. But patience has an expiration date, and his arrived the moment something touched Catherine. It wasn't just a personal insult, not just a petty jab. It was a line crossed that made him realize the palace wasn't merely managing public perception, it was managing people, managing loyalty, managing fear. And once William understood that, the polite version of him began to disappear, replaced by something colder and far more dangerous: clarity. It started with small shifts that only insiders would notice. Briefings tightened, conversations shortened. Access was no longer casual, it was controlled. A new court formed around him, not the old guard with their inherited loyalties and long memories, but a younger circle with sharper instincts and fewer sentimental attachments. Messaging became cleaner, leaks slowed. Doors that used to swing open for certain names began to stay firmly shut. And William didn't announce any of it. He simply let the system feel his gravity, and watched who adjusted and who resisted. Camilla, for a while, misread that silence as the same old deference. She assumed William would always bend for the good of the institution, always accept discomfort to preserve the illusion of unity. That assumption had kept her comfortable for years. But comfort breeds blindness. She didn't notice that William wasn't withdrawing, he was preparing, not to attack with noise, but to win with procedure, with structure, with people positioned exactly where they needed to be when the moment arrived. And Catherine, never loud, never reckless, wasn't a spectator in this. She was the still center of it, strategic, observant, emotionally steady in a world that feeds on emotional chaos. She didn't need to raise her voice to be influential. She simply became the person William trusted most when the palace tried to cloud his judgment. In a place where panic is currency, Catherine's calm became a shield, and that shield made William bolder. Because when your home base is unshakable, you stop fearing the storm. That's when the central mystery began to take shape, the one the palace would never confess out loud. William had something. Not a rumor, not gossip. Something that could reorder the family, redraw loyalties, and force even the most protected figures to answer questions they've avoided for years. A secret that didn't need the public to be powerful, because within the monarchy, the most lethal truths are the ones spoken privately, in the right room, to the right people. And as that truth tightened its grip, Camilla's moves became frantic in a way she couldn't fully disguise. Calls that felt too warm, favors offered too quickly, sudden friendliness that arrived like a mask put on in a hurry. The palace saw it, even if it pretended not to. Because when someone who usually commands begins to charm, it's not kindness, it's strategy. And when strategy turns to desperation, it means the ground beneath them is already cracking. But to understand why Camilla would ever beg, you have to understand what she feared most. And it wasn't William's anger, it was his evidence. In royal circles, secrets don't disappear, they get archived. And somewhere inside the machine of the palace, there's always a folder no one admits exists. Not gossip, not tabloids, something cleaner. Something dated, logged, and dangerously precise. The kind of information that doesn't need screaming headlines because it only needs one person with authority to say, "I know." When William got that folder, Camilla's smile stopped looking like confidence. It didn't arrive with fanfare. It arrived the way the most dangerous things always do in that world, quietly, almost respectfully, as if even the truth understood it had to knock before entering. A trusted aide, a misfiled briefing, A deliberate handover from someone who'd finally decided their loyalty had limits. However it reached him, the effect was immediate. William didn't rage, he didn't gloat, he didn't rush to confront anyone. He read. He absorbed. He went still. Because the folder wasn't opinion. It was documentation memos that hinted at decisions made in the shadows, emails that didn't look like mistakes, statements that didn't sound like misunderstandings, and traces that didn't belong in a fairy tale institution. The words inside didn't shout, but they pressed down like weight, appointments steered, interference disguised as guidance, leaks that never happened by accident, payments that didn't want daylight, pressure applied in places the public would never think to look. And suddenly, the palace shifted around Camilla in a way that felt almost supernatural. Not because anyone accused her openly, but because access itself began to change. Briefings arrived late. Meetings moved without her input. Familiar faces started speaking in shorter sentences, eyes flicking away just a second too quickly. She wasn't pushed out dramatically. She was delayed. And in a system built on privilege, being delayed is the first stage of being removed. Catherine didn't dig for this. That's the detail that makes it colder. She didn't need to collect dirt, she organized risk and consequence the way a future queen would, calmly mapping out what the truth could do if mishandled. She understood what William understood, too. This wasn't simply a personal problem. If the folder exploded in the wrong way, it wouldn't just burn Camilla. It could scorch the crown itself. The stability of the institution, the very illusion everyone lives inside, was suddenly sitting on paper, fragile and flammable. And William felt the conflict that only an heir can feel. Duty clawing at justice. The instinct to protect the family wrestling with the responsibility to protect the future. Because if he stayed silent, he'd be complicit. If he moved too fast, he'd look reckless. Either way, he would be blamed by people who never had to carry the weight of the next reign. That's why he chose the only thing more powerful than anger: control. Camilla sensed that control building like a wall, and she did what survivors do when they realize a door is closing. She made her countermove. She didn't confront William directly. She surrounded him. Friendly calls from unexpected relatives, sudden invitations dressed up as unity. Accidental encounters crafted to feel spontaneous. Even Catherine received a message framed as kindness, the kind that drips with innocence while quietly testing for weakness. Because Camilla doesn't plead first, she manipulates first. She repositions pieces on the board and hopes the king never notices the hands moving them. Then came the softer language, the most dangerous kind: we must protect the institution. In palace code, it meant, protect me. And when softness didn't work, something sharper surfaced, a subtle smear painted in whispers. William was too emotional, destabilizing, in a dangerous mood. And Catherine, inevitably, became the convenient explanation. Insinuations about ambition. Influence. The suggestion that she was controlling him, as if his spine could only exist if someone else held it upright. But William didn't bite. He didn't defend himself loudly, because defense is a trap. He tightened access, forced formal channels, made it impossible for casual pressure to land. And for a moment, Camilla nearly succeeded. One alley almost blocked William's path. One meeting almost got postponed. One carefully placed voice almost turned the tide. Almost. Because the folder had already done what rumors never could, it made the situation measurable. And once something is measurable in the palace, it becomes manageable by the person holding it. That's when the neutral meeting was scheduled, the kind of meeting that pretends fairness while hiding knives in etiquette. Camilla insisted on being there, not as a courtesy, as a last stand, because she could feel the end of her leverage approaching, and she needed one final chance to bargain before the truth became the only negotiator left. And once Camilla realized William had more than suspicion, She tried the oldest royal strategy of all: control the narrative before the truth controls you. Because Camilla didn't come to that corridor to argue, she came to deliver a final bargain, and William came to deliver something far worse, a decision. The most terrifying arguments aren't loud, they're polite. Camilla doesn't shout, she drops her voice. She speaks like a woman negotiating survival, not reputation. She frames it as peace, unity, for the family. But William doesn't flinch. He doesn't even correct her. He lets her talk until the silence becomes humiliating. Then he says it's simple, measured, irreversible. And Catherine, standing there, doesn't intervene. She witnesses. Camilla holds herself the way she always has, upright, deliberate, almost regal, yet the cracks are there if you know where to listen. A tremor that slips into her breath between sentences. A fraction too much care in every word. Desperation disguised as dignity. She isn't pleading for sympathy, not openly. She's pleading for time. For silence. For protection. For a promise that whatever William has, whatever's in that folder, whatever's been logged and dated and sealed, won't become a public reckoning that shreds what she's spent years building. She doesn't call it fear, she calls it responsibility. She doesn't say, "Save me." She says, "Save the institution." Because in the palace, self-preservation always wears the costume of duty. Then she reaches for the emotional lever that usually works. The king. Legacy. The chaos it would ignite if this becomes a story the world can repeat. She paints a future where headlines turn into riots, where the public loses faith, where the crown weakens and everyone falls with it. Her voice is softer now, almost intimate, as if the lower the volume, the more powerful the plea. It's the voice of someone who knows that the palace doesn't collapse from bombs, it collapses from whispers that won't die. And she is begging William to bury the whisper. William doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't threaten. That's what makes it feel like quiet violence. His refusal is surgical, clean, restrained, and impossible to misunderstand. He speaks in boundaries, not emotion. In consequences, not cruelty. He doesn't argue about her intentions, he talks about outcomes. He doesn't debate the past, he names the future. And when he finally lays it out, it's not a speech, it's a list. Step back. Surrender access. Stop influencing appointments, directly or indirectly. Stop positioning allies where they can steer the machine from the shadows. Accept a managed removal that looks dignified from the outside, but feels like exile from the inside. A controlled retreat designed to protect the crown and to neutralize her. And all the while, Catherine stays exactly where she is, quiet, composed, unreadable to anyone who expects chaos to be loud. People misread Catherine because she doesn't perform chaos. She doesn't need to. She's learned the palace's most dangerous lesson. The loudest person in the room is rarely the one in charge. In that corridor, she says almost nothing, yet every second she stands beside William changes the temperature. Because Camilla isn't facing one opponent. She's facing a united front, and Catherine is the proof that the future is already decided. Camilla watches Catherine the way you watch a locked door. Not cruel, not panicked, just calculating, searching for the smallest opening. But Catherine doesn't offer one. Her silence becomes a verdict. Not because she's heartless, but because she refuses to be manipulated into rescuing someone from consequences they helped create. And that's what rattles Camilla most. William can be reasoned with. William can be pressured, but Catherine is legitimacy, public affection, future authority, and a calm that doesn't crack. The symbolism is brutal. Camilla pleading for position, Catherine embodying destiny. The tension sharpens when Camilla realizes Catherine isn't just witnessing, she knows. Not rumors. Not tabloid fog. Specific, verified information that has been weighed and understood. You can feel it in the way Catherine's gaze doesn't dart, doesn't soften, doesn't ask questions that need answers. She doesn't protect William by pushing him forward, she protects him by keeping him human, steady and unshaken, while he delivers a decision that will stain him emotionally, even if it saves him politically. Camilla tries one last pivot, a last attempt to turn refusal into guilt into mercy. And William, with an almost frightening calm, ends it with a line that lands like a seal closing on a document. You're not asking for mercy, you're asking for control. The air changes after that, because control is the one thing the palace cannot forgive being demanded at the wrong moment. And that's when Camilla realizes the nightmare isn't William refusing her, it's why he can afford to. Because when Catherine finally breaks her silence, it isn't to comfort Camilla, it's to clarify the one truth Camilla can't escape. Camilla expects anger. She expects bargaining. She even expects insults. What she doesn't expect is a sentence so calm it feels like a door shutting. Catherine speaks softly, almost kindly, and yet it lands like a blade. Because it isn't emotional. It's administrative. It's the language of inevitability. And when Catherine finishes, Camilla's face changes not into rage, but into the expression of someone who understands she's already been outvoted by the future. The words are simple, almost merciful in their clarity. This isn't about punishment, it's about protection. And that's what makes them so lethal. Camilla has survived storms by turning everything into a debate in tensions, misunderstandings, optics, timing. But protection is not a debate. Protection is a policy. It's what you do when the risk is already confirmed, and the only question left is how to contain the damage before it multiplies. Catherine doesn't say it with triumph. She says it like a closing note at the end of a file, like the matter has been reviewed, weighed, and moved into the next stage of action. You can almost feel Camilla reaching for old instincts, pivot, charm, reframe, appeal to emotion. But Catherine's restraint doesn't give her anything to grab. No anger to exploit, no insecurity to press, no frantic need to be liked. And Camilla, in that split second, realizes a terrifying truth. Catherine's silence wasn't passivity. It was discipline. It was preparation. And standing beside William, she isn't just watching him decide, she's confirming that the decision has a future behind it. William backs it the way only an heir can, without drama, without spectacle, with structure. He doesn't describe revenge. He describes process, protocols, committees, documented steps, a chain of accountability that doesn't rely on anyone's mood or mercy. The goal isn't to humiliate Camilla in front of the world, it's to contain the fallout before it becomes a wildfire the monarchy can't outrun. It's stability first, scandal second. And that's the cruel irony. Camilla spent years mastering the palace's machinery, only to watch it turn against her with the cold efficiency she once benefited from. Still, she tries. Because survival makes people persuasive. She invokes legacy. She invokes loyalty. She invokes sacrifice. She implies that she endured too much to be discarded now, that the institution owes her protection because she carried burdens others wouldn't. Her voice tightens around the word family like it's a shield, like it's a magic spell that will force William to hesitate. And for a heartbeat it almost feels like it might, because William is human, and humans hesitate when pain is offered as currency. But then he answers with a finality that doesn't rise in volume, it sharpens in meaning. Then you should have protected it when you had the chance. No accusation shouted, no insult, just a sentence that rearranges the moral ground beneath her feet, because it suggests what Camilla fears most, that this isn't about what she's facing now. It's about what she did before. And whatever was done, it wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. That's when the air changes from political to personal. Camilla's eyes narrow, not in fury, but in calculation. She stops bargaining and starts diagnosing. If William is this steady, it means he isn't bluffing. If Catherine is this calm, it means she has already seen what's inside the file. And if they're both unmoved by her appeals, it means the truth is bigger than her reputation, bigger than public opinion, bigger than the usual royal compromise. Her voice drops. The forbidden question finally escapes quiet, almost cracked at the edges. What do you have? She doesn't mean evidence in general. She means the thing that turns a private disagreement into an irreversible removal. She means the piece that makes mercy impossible. She means the reason Catherine spoke like a verdict instead of a conversation. William doesn't answer with words. He answers with a name. One name can collapse a palace. Not because it's famous, because it's connected. Camilla assumes the file is about her. But William reveals, indirectly, that it isn't just about her choices. It's about who got hurt by them, who got pushed aside, who got blamed, who got silenced. And the moment that name enters the room, the story stops being political and becomes personal. Because now it isn't about mercy, it's about consequences. Camilla's fear shifts instantly. Not embarrassment, not bad headlines, not public whispers, something colder: removal. Managed retreat, titles adjusted, access reduced, representation rewritten. Because when collateral damage has a name, covering it up doesn't look like loyalty anymore. It looks like repetition. It looks like repeating harm to protect power. And William's moral line hangs in the silence like a warning that can't be negotiated. We're not doing this again. Even Catherine's restraint shows a hairline fracture here, just a flicker of controlled emotion. The smallest sign that this name means something deeper than strategy. That flicker is what confirms it for Camilla. This isn't theatre. This isn't politics as usual. This is the kind of truth that forces a choice. Protect the institution by swallowing the scandal, or protect the institution by cutting the source of it out. Camilla's mind races toward one final shield: the king. She says she'll go to him, as if the crown itself can overwrite the heir's resolve, as if a single conversation can undo a documented reality. But William's stillness answers before his words do, and when he finally speaks, the implication is brutal. She already tried. The shield has already been tested. And it didn't rise. And that's when Camilla makes her most dangerous move of all. She tries to turn the king into her shield, only to discover the shield is already lowering. When that door finally opens, nothing looks different to the public. No screaming, no tears on camera, no official statement yet. But the palace feels it instantly. The staff shift, the schedule changes, the briefings tighten, the air turns colder. Camilla walks out with her head high. But she isn't walking out as a winner. She's walking out as someone who just learned the monarchy doesn't run on love. It runs on survival. In the first seconds after, the building does what it always does. When power moves, pretend it didn't. People keep their faces neutral, their voices low, their bodies angled away from the moment so no one can be accused of witnessing history up close. And yet every machine inside the institution starts recalibrating. Instructions travel without being announced. Aides who used to linger near certain doors are quietly redirected. A new chain of command isn't proclaimed, it's implied, like gravity. Access becomes a privilege again, not a habit. And the most telling sign of all is how quickly the palace returns to routine. Because routine is how it hides shock. Camilla doesn't collapse. She doesn't stumble. She doesn't give anyone the satisfaction of visible defeat. She gives them composure. That is her armor. But armor doesn't mean safety, it means she expects to be hit again. Before the echo of that meeting can settle, damage control begins. Fast and precise. It's narrative management in its purest form. Friendly whispers placed in the right ears. Soft leaks that recast urgency as unity. Carefully timed public appearances that signal normality even when normality is dead behind the walls. She knows the public believes what it sees, so she gives them a picture steady, smiling. Present while privately she scrambles to close doors that are already closing on her. William, meanwhile, doesn't rush into spectacle. He does the opposite. He builds a timeline so controlled it feels almost clinical. Stability first, scandal second. If a storm is coming, he'll decide when the windows are opened and which way the wind is allowed to blow. Meetings are restructured. Briefings become tighter, less conversational, more procedural. People who once had casual influence discover that casual influence has been removed from the equation. This isn't revenge dressed as duty. It's duty stripped of mercy. And that's why it holds. Catherine's role becomes even more important now, because the aftermath is where institutions either panic or solidify. She offers reassurance without softness, public warmth, private steel. She doesn't over-explain. She doesn't overreact. She understands that steadiness is a message louder than any statement. If Camilla tries to dramatize, Catherine neutralizes. If Camilla tries to charm, Catherine outlasts. And in every calculated silence, the palace hears what the public won't yet hear. The future is being protected, not negotiated. But the real pressure point isn't what happens next week, it's what happens if Camilla breaks the terms. Because the threat isn't shouted, it simply exists in the background like a locked drawer with a second key. A second file. A second layer. A deeper trail that could be released if the agreement is violated, if the narrative gets reckless, if anyone tries to weaponize the king or force William's hand through chaos. It's not a threat made in anger. It's a warning made in governance. And Camilla understands the difference. That's why she smiles wider than she feels, because she's not just trying to look confident, she's trying to look compliant. And then there's William's burden, the part no camera can capture, and no headline will ever print cleanly. He didn't enjoy this. He didn't win in the way villains win, with laughter and trophies. He chose something heavy because the crown is heavy, and he can already feel the cost of being the one who decides. He carries the human ache of it, family ties strained, lines crossed, memories turning into evidence, but he doesn't let the ache steer the wheel. Because if he lets emotion decide, the palace returns to the chaos it has always survived by hiding. He refuses that, even if it stains him privately. And now, the final twist approaches like a countdown no one admits is happening, a public event where they must stand close enough for cameras to pretend unity. Camilla will appear beside them, as required, as expected, as tradition demands. William will smile in that controlled way that never reaches his eyes. Catherine will be gracious in a way that reads as warmth to the public, and reads as finality to anyone who understands the palace. And the world, without being told anything, will start to sense the distance. Not distance of space, distance of power. Because when the royals stand together and something feels colder than usual, the audience doesn't know the script, but it feels the aftermath. Because the next time the cameras roll and the royals smile, you'll think it's ceremony until you realize you're watching the aftermath of a mercy that was asked for and refused. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.